I want to thank you all for joining us here today. I apologize. I'm getting about a 3-4 minute late start here. I was on another phone call that I couldn't get off of, but got that out of the way. I want to again thank you for joining us. We want to talk about our Heritage Protector final expense plan here today. And I have a couple of people on the line with me that we will bring on here a little bit later. I've got Kevin Williams, our National Sales Director for Equitable. And then I have Gershon Georges, who is in our back office here. And as we move through the webinar, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in, and she will try to get those answered as we move through the webinar, and then we will read those back at the end. So let's go ahead and get started here. Talk a little bit about this product that we brought on in June of last year, June the 17th of last year. We introduced the Heritage Protector Final Expense Plan. It's a whole life plan that we are having success with in a lot of areas. And if you look at the map in front of you, you can see that we have a pretty good representation throughout all the United States. There's a couple of places that we aren't in, as a lot of companies choose not to be, and one of those, of course, being New York. Nobody wants to go to New York. And we have some, I think we will have Florida approved on another piece of paper here in the near future. We're working on that as we speak, so if you are listening from Florida, we may have something for you in the state of Florida here shortly. Now, the good thing about this plan is you can live in Florida and sell it in Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, or any other states that are in blue. So we will talk about our Express App process here shortly. Okay, take a look at the rates real quick. This is kind of what some of the buzz is all about. Now, if you look at a female age 50, the $10,000 benefit plan for her would run about $24.58 a month. For a 50-year-old male, you're at $32.09. And for those of you who might be new to final expense, all final expense companies charge a recurring policy fee. And sometimes you'll get a solicitation and they'll show you one number, the policy fee is not figured into the premium. But we want this to be an accurate representation of what a monthly premium actually is. So if you look right up there by final expense, it does say monthly premium with the policy fee included. So very, very competitively priced product, and we've been seeing really good success, and that's starting to pick up as the years or the months roll by. Now, why did we add the Heritage Protector to the product line? So what we want to talk about here today is why we added it, what's in it for you, why we want you to sell it, offer you some tips on selling final expense, and also give you some ideas for sales and marketing tools going forward. I'll kind of give you some ideas of what I used to do when I was in the sales field on a daily basis. I don't get out there very much anymore, but I still do get out in the sales field. I was out there all day Tuesday, and you know, I like to stay out there so that I can see what you guys run into from day to day, week to week. One of the things that we noticed with this, we used to sell a product called the Legacy Life, and we took a look at our Legacy Life per series, and what we did is we compared that to where the market was currently at. We found two things that maybe we needed to be better at. First off, our comp was not the best. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't out there like a lot of these carriers were offering for final expense. So we were able to make some adjustments to that. And then we also found out our rates were pretty much middle of the road. Again, not bad, but we wanted them to be a little stronger. So we redid the product with the Heritage Protector, and we were able to lower the rates a little bit, and we were also able to be a little bit more generous on the comp. So if you have any questions about your comp, you can check with your existing upline, or you can actually go to the website and on our agent website, and it will be a place right there for you to click and find out what your current commission structure shows. So that's one area that we improved, our commissions and the rates. Another thing that we hear all the time that, you know, we send out, we talk to agents all the time about why they like final expense, and a lot of them simply like it because not a whole lot of service work to final expense. I mean, they may have a change of address once in a while or something like that, but usually it's a one claim, not like a med sup to where they, you know, they have claims every time they go to the doctor. So there's not a whole lot of service work with final expense. But now with that said, guys, never take service work lightly. I've been doing this since 1984, and I've built a huge block of business based on service. whether it be final expense, whether it be a cancer plan, an annuity, a med sup, or whatever it is that I have put in a home. Service is the key to our business. You can always generate referrals, and it's the most important part of a good agent making a good career choice is to take care of the people that you're doing business with. Another area that everybody is probably aware of and why there's a need for the senior products in the senior market is our baby boomer generation, of which I'm a part of. 10,000 people a day turn 65 in this country. Every time I say that, that just blows my mind. 10,000 people a day. And that continues for the next 17 to 19 years. That's incredible. What a great time for you and I to be in the final expense market or the senior population market. It's just a fantastic opportunity, and it should be for years to come. Another area that we like selling to seniors or final expense products are daytime work. A lot of our work is done during the 9 to 5 daylight hours. So, you know, that's good. That allows you and me to be home with our families in the evening. You know, if you got kids still in school, which when I was out there every day, it seems like I was home just about every night around 6:30, and still got to spend quality time with my family before the youngins went to bed. Now they're married, and now I can't get them to go home now, even though they're all married. So anyway, daytime work is a big plus and seems to be a good thing for the people in this market. Another reason that we like final expense, it's pretty easy to get issued, and if it's easy to get issued, a lot of times we'll get paid quickly, which we have a very quick payment process. We pay commissions on a daily basis, so we, you know, if you got a good clean piece of business in there, we get money in your pocket or in your account real quick. We have a very simple application process. We don't have any medical exams required. We simply ask a few questions on the app. If you send an app in and that app comes back clean, and when we check the MIB, which is the Medical Information Bureau, or we run what's called the Milliman script check, if that matches the application, we're usually able to turn these policies extremely quickly. We usually can do that in about a 4-day turnaround time. Now, we also have an express app on this product availability. So what I'm getting to you there is you can actually get this policy issued over the telephone. So as an example, say that I'm sitting there in front of my prospect right now, and I've went through the price with him, the benefits with him, explained to him how the product worked, and he said, you know what, Bill, that sounds like something I want to do. I think I do need another several $1,000s of final expense coverage. I say, okay, Mr. Prospect, let's pick up the phone, let's call our underwriting department, and let's get them on the phone. They'll ask you some health questions, and they'll tell us at the end of that phone call whether you are approved or declined, and then they'll even give us your policy number right then, right there. So it's a very, very good process. I don't have time to go clear through the Express app process today, but I just did a webinar this morning on the Express app process, and we had really, really good questions, had a good turnout. And check your emails all the time, because we are sending out emails on how to sell each one of these products on an individual basis. And if you're interested in the Express app, for sure tune in on one of those, and we've got some pretty good material in there for you to help you get very efficient with the Express app process. Okay, then they get down to something that all agents like, the competitive commissions, and they are paid daily. If that policy gets issued, there's no outstanding requirements. You and I have done our job as filling out the app correctly, and we don't have any, you know, things that we need to go back and do. Then we're going to get you paid. Usually, I always tell guys within a 5 business day turnaround, but guys, I've seen people get paid as high as 2 and 3 days if everything's clean and goes well. So we get our commissions paid quickly because we know that that's what keeps you guys out there working and doing a good job for our company. One of the most unique things of this product is the way we classify smokers, or should I say non-smokers. And it's a really good feature of this product. Basically what we're telling you is a non-smoker is defined as a person who's not smoked cigarettes for at least 12 months prior to the application completion date. So let's say you walk into a house And one of the first things you notice when you hit the kitchen table is an ashtray. And in that ashtray there lies a half-smoking cigar or a pipe that has been, you can tell has been smoked because there's ashes in the ashtray. So naturally you're going to ask your prospect, do you smoke cigarettes? And he says, well, no, you know, all I do is I'd have an occasional cigar, or every now and then I'll smoke my pipe. Every now and then at night I'll have a couple bowls full there. And of course they live in Colorado or Seattle, and you never know what's going to be in the pipe, but we don't have to ask about that anyway, so we're talking about tobacco right now. So anyway, you ask him if he smokes cigarettes, and his response is, no, I just smoke a pipe every now and then, or smoke a cigar. You actually can qualify that guy as a non-smoker. So think about that if you run into that in a house and they have bought final expense and they have been charged smokers' rates. Companies charge anywhere from 20 to 25% more for a smoker. So that gives you a very, very competitive advantage when you're sitting there talking to somebody who maybe bought a policy a year ago and was charged a smoker's rate, and his health's actually pretty good. You now can quote him as a non-smoker and be competitive in your rate and maybe beat the rate that he's currently got or give him more coverage. You know, one of the things I used to tell people when I would train them is if they're paying $30 a month or 40 or 50 or whatever, and they've got $5,000 worth of coverage, and they're comfortable paying the premium that they're paying, I had an agent one time say, well, boy, I can save you about $8, $9 a month and give you the same thing. And I just looked over at him and I said, well, you know what, Joe? It's actually Daniel Johns. I don't mind using his name. I said, Daniel, why don't you tell Mr. Jones how much more coverage he could buy for the amount of money he's spending? And he's just like, oh, the lights just went on. So it was a learning experience for both of us. But those are good things that you can do when you get out there and you're out there calling on people day to day. So smokeless tobacco, chewing tobacco, a pipe, a cigar, we can still do as a non-smoker classification. Now, I know the question is going to come up, so I'm going to go ahead and address it right now. What about e-cigarettes? There's a lot of coverage out there right now, or a lot of popularity with this e-cigarette. Unfortunately, guys, e-cigarette's still going to be classified as a smoker. There's not enough data out there to really determine the effects of an e-cigarette. All that we do know for sure about e-cigarettes is every now and then they explode, but there is tobacco or nicotine in them. So at this point, e-cigarettes would still be considered smokers. Okay, with final expense, you always get guys and gals out there asking, do you have a guaranteed issue policy? And the answer to that is yes, we do have an option on this product. I'll show you when we get to the health questions of the application. A true guarantee issue plan. In other words, there are no health questions. All you really need is a name, address, the amount of premium for the amount of benefit, and who gets that benefit on the demise of that individual. So it is a true guaranteed issue plan. Guaranteed coverage available for every client. As with any final expense, rates do not go up if it's a true final expense plan. The rates are never going to go up. They're not like the product you see out there that AARP pushes that goes up on every 50-year anniversary, or I think it's 4 or 5 years every anniversary, the rates get up. Well, that's really good when they're young, but when they get 75 and 80, it gets so expensive that they can't hardly afford it. So if you run into something like that, you need to be able to explain to them when you hit 80, 85, even if you can get out of it, you can afford to get out of it, your health may not allow you to get out of it at that point. So our rates are never going up. We have guaranteed level premiums for the life of the policy, and we cannot cancel the policy because of age or health. The only way we would cancel a policy would be for non-payment of premium. The overview of the product, we have 2 different products to fit different health styles. We have the Heritage Protector Preferred, which is a full death benefit plan from the very first day that the policy is approved. We have the Heritage Protector Standard, which is also full death benefit from day one, but that would be for smokers and information based on certain health questions on the app. I'll point those out to you when we get to the app. And then we have our true guaranteed issue product, which is our Heritage Protector Graded. That's a 3-year graded death benefit. And the first year they get all premiums plus 5% interest. The second year they get return of premium. This is if they die in the second year, they get return of premium plus 10% interest. And if they die in the third year, it's 75% of whatever face amount they bought. So if they bought a $10,000 face amount, then the estate would receive $7,500. And if they die anytime after the third year, beginning in the fourth year, it is a 100% face value policy. Okay. The maximum or the minimum face amounts for all policies is $2,000, and the maximum face amount for our preferred and standard plan is $30,000. The Heritage Graded, which is a plan that has very serious health issues associated with it, $10,000. And we always use the age of their last birthday, which allows you and I to do what I used to call the old impending event close. So if I'm sitting there talking to somebody today, and they're going to be another year older one day next week, then I can kind of use that as, you know, Ms. Jones, let's go ahead and apply for this today, because now I can use your current age, but if I come back a week from now, I have to go the next age group up. So we always use the age of the last birthday. The Heritage Protector Preferred Plan, for non-smokers, the age groups are from 50 to 85. If you use the standard benefit, if they're a smoker, then we're going to knock 5 years off of that. We're going to go 50 to 80. And the graded is 50 to 75. So we get calls for people saying, well, can we write that graded plan over age 80? Unfortunately, the answer is no. If you were on the hook for those claims, you'd know why. So 75 is the highest as we will go on a graded plan. Now, you can use effective dates 60 days beyond the application date, so that comes in handy every now and then. And we get asked every now and then, can I sell this plan if somebody comes to my state to see me? So let me clear that up. Say I got a cousin in Houston, Texas, and I live in Blue Springs, Missouri, and he says, hey, Bill, coming up for the holidays, and I know you're selling life insurance. I want to talk to you about some final expense. Can you sell that to me when I get up there in Missouri? And the answer is yes. However, you have to make sure that you use Texas forms or whatever state that they are originating in. In my example, my cousin lives in Texas, so I would have used a Texas application, and I have to make sure that I am licensed and appointed in the state of Texas. But yes, I can do that. So that if you have any questions on that or contracting like that, let us know at the end, and we will go ahead and answer those as we move through the webinar. The application, very, very easy application to fill out. The first section is all the personal information, name, date of birth, social security number, male, female, good phone numbers in case we need to get a hold of them. Are they a U.S. citizen? Part 2 is your owner information, and guys, gals, you don't need to fill that out unless the owner is someone other than the proposed insured. No sense to filling that out again if they're one and the same. Then you'll move on to the third part of the application. That's going to be your beneficiary designation. Very important that you get as much of this part filled out as you possibly can. We have 5 slots for primary, 4 for contingent. So first section there is the name and address. Email, if you can get it, fine. If you can't, that's okay. That's not a deal breaker. Social security number, I guarantee you if somebody asked me right now I got 3 kids, what their social security numbers was, and they were holding a gun to my head, I'd just say pull, because I have no clue. Now, I can find it, but it may take me a day or two. So if you run into that situation, you know, this is not a deal breaker. It won't keep us from underwriting. It won't keep us from paying you, but we will need the social security information at some point. So if the insured cannot find the social security number, just tell them that that's okay. Call the kids, get that, let them know why you need it, and then get it to me, and I'll move it on to the company. Get the date of birth, the relationship, son, daughter, friend of the family, cousin, whatever it is, and what percentage of that benefit do they receive. So if you had 3 primaries and 3 kids, and they said we want a $30,000 plan, and we want to divide that equally among our 3 children, on the percentage share, it would be 33 1/3 for each one. So very simple on the beneficiary, and we give you plenty of room there. Part 4 is the different policy informations. It's the face amount. We want to know, are you applying for a minimum of 2 or a maximum of 30 on the preferred, or is it the level benefit or the increasing benefit? Still be a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 10 in that situation. Then you need to make a decision on the automatic policy loan. I don't know why anybody would never fill that out. Yes, I always just check yes, for the simple reason they may need to, that maybe they miss a payment down the road 3 or 4 years from now because of hard times or something. They need some time to recover. If there's any cash value built up with the automatic policy loan, that'll go ahead and take care of that feature until they get back on their feet. The application itself, now I'm going to go by this and then come back to it because I want you to see I couldn't get the whole application on the, I can, but it'd be so small you wouldn't be able to read it. So there's actually 2 parts to the health questions. There's part 1, there's 12 questions in part 1, and part 2. So let me go back to part 1. Okay, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, it says by checking this box, the proposed insurer elects a guarantee issue product and to not answer any health questions. So if you're insured, say they're laying in a hospital bed and they want to apply for final expense, which is question number 1. You could just check that box. You don't have to ask their height and weight. You don't have to get whether they smoke or not. It's a guaranteed issue. So that eliminates any health questions. You're done at that point. But if they don't check that box and you start down through your health questions, if you look at those questions, guys and gals, those pretty serious health conditions right there. We're talking about somebody in the hospital, somebody waiting to receive an organ transplant, been diagnosed or told you got Lou Gehrig's disease, which is definitely a death sentence. If you've ever known anybody's had Lou Gehrig's disease, there is no cure, and if you get diagnosed with it, you do not recover. It's a death sentence. So, number 6, in the last 6 months, have you used oxygen? Been confined to a wheelchair, paralyzed? In other words, all serious health conditions. So move right along to question number 11. And this was a question that I had when I first seen this app. And I got it highlighted down there because this is a combination question. Question number 11 says, in the past 2 years, have you been prescribed medication by a member of the medical profession for the first condition would be diabetes, in combination with a medical history of a stroke, a TIA, heart disease or disorder, kidney disease, eye problems, or neuropathy. And then the one that I had a question about was 11C, any circulatory disease that affects the heart and blood vessels. So my first question was to the underwriting department, are you talking about blood pressure medicines? And I got an email back from them that says, no, they're looking more for arthrosclerotic conditions like the carotid artery surgeries that cause strokes, things like that, the peripheral vascular problems, the main artery that goes from the stomach into your legs, things like that are what they are looking for. So if they're taking blood pressure and on diabetic, that does not mean you have to answer that question yes. Okay, so let's say they answer all, you're sitting there with a prospect and they answer all of the first 12 questions no. And you have determined that they are a non-smoker. Okay, so the first 12 questions are no, non-smoker. You come to part 2. And you say, Mr. Jones, in the past 2 years, have you been diagnosed, told by the medical profession or a member of the medical profession that you have treatment for or that you need treatment for Parkinson's disease, cirrhosis of the liver, chronic hepatitis, or any other liver disease or disorder? And he says yes. Okay, now remember, the first 12 are no, non-smoker. Now you get your first yes question. He says, I got Parkinson's disease. Okay. Most companies will take that Parkinson's disease patient and offer him a graded death benefit. In my example, this guy would still be eligible for first dollar coverage. In other words, if we went ahead and approved his application and he died a year from now or 2 years from now, he would still get full death benefit. He wouldn't be on a graded scale. So that is huge. I mean, these are very serious health conditions. Look at question number 2. In the past 3 years, and skip down to the second line, have you had any complications of diabetes, including amputation, eye or kidney problems, insulin shock, or diabetic coma? All serious stuff. They could answer all 4 of these questions yes, and still get a first dollar plan if they are a non-smoker, and answer truthfully yes to the first 12 questions. So very liberal underwriting. Now, if you had a smoker and he answered all the first 12 questions no, but any question in part 2 yes, then you would offer that man a guaranteed issue plan. And don't worry about remembering all of this. All of these scenarios that I just described are on the front of every application that we put out there. So if you're out there in the sales field and you run into a situation you're not sure of, just refer back to the front of your application, and it tells you exactly how to handle that. And I'll show you that sheet here in just a second. Okay, so that takes care of the medical underwriting. So let's say you want to do an express app. You're sitting in the home, you've went through the health questions, and they were all no. You got a non-smoker, and you want to do an express app. So using the medical questions that we just looked at, you're going to pre-qualify that applicant. Now, if he doesn't qualify for the level but does qualify for the graded benefit, in other words, the guarantee issue, before you call and do the express app, make sure they understand what the premium is, because if you don't tell them what the premium is and you call in there and we spend 20 minutes on the phone and then they say the premium's a lot higher than he was expecting, and then we wasted everybody's time. So don't waste your time, and help us out on our end also, and make sure that the prospect will accept that coverage before you go on. Okay, make sure that the applicant understands on an express app that we're going to do a personal history interview, and you got to read the privacy policy to him. We're supposed to do that anyway, but we will ask that question, and if he says no, then the interview cannot be completed. So make sure you read that, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. You also are required to leave a copy of the Life Buyer's Guide. Here's what I'm referring to. Make your client aware that we will do a MIB background check. MIB stands for the Medical Information Bureau, and when you get your application there, it says right at the bottom of this form to leave with the applicant. So just show that to them, let them read through it if they want to, and tell them for sure we will be checking their history through the Medical Information Bureau. Okay, the telephone interview then will ask you, the agent, for the following information. He's going to ask you, is this an express or a regular app, and you should always say express. They're going to get the telephone number and what you're calling from. Should we get disconnected, we'll need to be able to reach you again. They're going to get your name and your agent number. That way they will make sure your appointments are all intact. And then, of course, we need to know where to pay commission. They'll ask you if there's a splitting agent involved. Now, this is important. If you say yes, you got to make sure that the splitting agent's name and agent number, what percentage you're giving him. And it can't be, 50.6% for me and 49.4% for him. It's got to be 50-50, 70-30, 80-20, whatever that is, but make sure it's in whole numbers. And also, if there's a splitting agent involved, make sure that you disclose that at the point of sale. If you call us 2 weeks later and say, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you I wanted to split that commission with Johnny Hohandle, we're not going to be able to do that, because that means a lot of accounting problems and going back, reversing commissions and repaying. So at that point, it'll be up to you to take care of the splitting agent. They'll ask you your client's first, middle, and last name, and then they're going to go through the product information to find out what product you're applying for. Are you applying for the level, or are you applying for the graded benefit? And then we will ask you, the agent, do you want the automatic premium loan to be included in this benefit? And of course, you would say yes on that, I would hope. Now, because of time restraints, guys, I can't go clear through the client presentation, because we'll be run way out of time if I try to do that. So, basically what they will do, just to give you an overview, is once they get that client on the phone, they're going to read disclosures to him. They'll read the HIPAA authorization to him or her, and that gives them the authority then to go through the health information and check that against MIB, and that will let them get the information on the drugs, so we can check that against Milliman's script check, and then they will do a voice signature as a verbal signature. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how the client interview will go. Now, certain states have crazy laws. And if you are in the top tier of states there that start with Alabama and end with Wisconsin, those are the ones that's got some crazy requirements. And what that means is states where the replacement notice must be submitted when the applicant has existing life insurance or annuities regardless of replacement. Makes no sense to me, but that's the way the laws read in those states. Now, if you're in the bottom tier of states like in Wyoming and Arkansas, then any states that's in that group, only if you are replacing a plan are you required to fill out a replacement notice. So as I tell everybody, don't shoot me, I'm the messenger, but that is the requirements. And all of those are in the underwriting guides if you have any questions about that. The underwriting guide does have a height and weight unisex chart in it, and this is an accept or reject for the Heritage Protector Preferred or Standard. If they are outside these guidelines, they would still be eligible for our graded plan, but they would not be eligible for the Preferred or Standard. Now, so if you're sitting there with a 5'10" man or woman and they weigh over 310 pounds, then we know you have to go with the graded benefit plan. So if you have any questions about that, again, that is in the underwriting guide. Now, remember I said that all those scenarios that you had to, that I was giving you about the different conditions, right here's what's attached to the front of every application. It tells you that if you're sitting there with somebody and they answer all health questions and 1 and 2 no, and their height and weight is within the guidelines of what we just looked at, and their medical records are clear, and the health history is consistent with what's on the app and what we get back from the MIB, then they will be issued a Protector Preferred plan. If they answer any health questions in Part 1, if all health questions in Part 1 are no, 1 or more questions in Part 2 are yes, and they're a smoker, then you would do a graded plan. But if they're a non-smoker and they answer all questions in 1 no and 1 or more questions in Part 2, then you would get the standard plan. Of course, their height and weight and the MIB records would also have to be consistent with the app. The Heritage Protector graded, no health questions are answered. If they choose not to answer any questions, of course, that's an automatic graded benefit. Or if they answer any question in Part 1, they're going to get a graded benefit plan. So this sheet is attached to, like I said, it's attached to all the applications, and you can always refer back to that and help you out in the sales field. Okay, so let's talk a little bit then about selling the product and marketing the product. Who would you consider an ideal prospect? Well, an ideal prospect would be, as far as I'm concerned, would be someone that would be looking for additional whole life insurance coverage. Maybe they want that to pay final expense plans, benefits. Maybe they want it to pay unexpected medical bills on their demise or remaining debt. Now, medical bills never used to be such an issue when most everybody had a Medicare supplement, because usually there were not a lot of leftover medical bills. But in today's world, with Medicare Advantage plans out there, they have out-of-pocket maximums $6,000 to $7,000 in some areas. So there can be a lot of medical bills left over. And that would be another reason to talk to people in today's world. If they have Medicare Advantage, you may want to consider some additional final expense coverage, and here's why. You get somebody that maybe gets cancer late in life and they're in and out of the hospital, and they maybe get cancer in the last part of the year and they hit their out-of-pocket maximum. Well, guess what happens in January? They get started out on that out-of-pocket maximum again. So it's not uncommon for people with Medicare Advantage plans to leave unexpected medical bills. So additional monies in a final expense plan can help go to offset that. Maybe it's someone who wants to supplement their current coverage. Maybe they bought it 10, 12 years ago and they realize now they just don't have enough for what a funeral costs in today's marketplace. Or again, maybe it's that person that you run into out there in the sales field that just bought a plan recently and he was charged smoker's rates because he smoked a pipe or chewed tobacco. You got a really, really good opportunity to take that person from a smoking policy to a non-smoking benefit plan. Client profiles, anybody that's between 50 and 85 that do not own life insurance or need supplemental insurance to, like I said, maybe they bought it 10, 15 years ago, and they decided that they went to somebody's funeral and they know them personally, and they said, oh, man, I didn't realize it cost that much. Or maybe they went to the funeral home and found out what it cost. Things get more expensive as the world turns. So all kinds of good profiles out there for us to market this product to. Let me back up here. I hit the button twice. So why would somebody buy final expense? One of the things that I used to always ask my client, I would say, Mr. Jones, let me just ask you something. If you died tomorrow, could you or your loved ones pay your final expenses, and I always added this to it, without putting your loved one in any additional hardship? Guys, gals, final expense is a very emotional sale. If you can't get the client involved in your conversation, you might as well pack your bags and go on to the next chance, opportunity. You got to get them to participate with you. You got to ask them questions about what funeral home charges are. One of the things that I used to do that was really, really effective, and again, this comes back to service work and a relationship with your prospects or your clients if they've been with you for many years, is once I had one of my clientele pass away, after the dust had settled and the emotional part of that has got back to normal, I would sit down with them and review their insurance. And if they had a copy of the funeral home bill, I would ask them to see it. And once they brought it out to me, I would then proceed to tell them, let me ask you something. I talk to a lot of people on a regular basis about what it costs for a funeral. They have no idea sometimes how much a funeral costs. Would it be okay with you, and if it's not, tell me, but if it's okay with you, would you allow me to copy this so that when I sit down with people, I can say, here is what a recent funeral cost right here in your town. And I lived in Marshall, Missouri, so a lot of times I would have an existing funeral home bill from Campbell Lewis. And you make the client aware, if you want me to black your name out, your husband's name out, or your wife's name out, I will. A lot of times they'll say, no, I don't care. If I can help, I will. So I would take a copy of that funeral home bill. And when I would sit down with a new prospect, I would flip to that and I said, do you know what an average funeral is costing in today's world? And I would open that up and I'd say, here's Joe Jones's funeral. And it might be a situation to where you get a comment back from the client that you're talking to, says, well, you know what? He was a good friend of mine, and I was at his funeral. I did not have any idea that's how much it costs to bury somebody. Very effective little sales ad. If you work a good relationship with your client, they're more than happy to help us out. And it's just really, really effective. If you don't want to do that, just go to the local funeral home and ask them for a printout of what it costs. I've got something like that here. I'll show you here in just a second. Again, these people can use these monies for whatever they choose. They can, of course, naturally pay funeral expenses and associated costs, the medical bills if they have a really expensive final illness. And I know somebody's going to ask this question, they always do, can you make the funeral home the beneficiary? And the answer is yes. What you got to do is just go to the funeral home, get their tax ID number, and put that in as a Social Security number. So if I did this in Marshall quite a bit, I'd make the Campbell Lewis Funeral Home the beneficiary, and I'd put their tax ID number there and their address, and upon their demise, they would take that in there and file the bill. Worked out real well. Okay, so what you and I have to do if we're going to sell final expenses, we got to know what we're doing. We got to be able to sit down and show people what it costs for the funeral services, what it costs to transfer the deceased to the funeral home, how much a casket can range. Trust me, when my dad died about 11 years ago, I was amazed at the difference in the prices of caskets. They can go anywhere from $1,000 to several thousands of dollars. You got to pay for the grave plot, the viewing facilities, the headstones, and the engraving. It all adds up. When you put a pencil to it, you come up with these kinds of numbers. The transfer of the deceased is usually from the home to the funeral home, or it could be from the hospital or the nursing home to the funeral home. But what if you're sitting there talking to somebody that tells you that they go to, say, Texas for the winter or Florida for the winter, and they live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin? And what happens if that person dies while they're in Milwaukee or in Florida or Texas? I can assure you the transfer of the deceased, you better add another zero to it, because that body it'll take a lot of money to get that body from the southern part of the country to wherever they live in the northern part of the country. So all these things we need to make our prospects aware of. The funeral home, the professional services can be around $1,800, embalming's another $600. Casket and vault, I guarantee you can go a lot higher than $3,400, but that's just an average. And you can see all these are just average charges. By the time you get down to the bottom there, it's a little over $7,700. That does not include the headstones and the engravings and the flowers and the obituaries. Add another $2,500, you're easily over $10,000. Now, the most important part of that is if you're talking to somebody in their 60s or 50s, and the average annual rate of inflation of about 3.39%, in 10 years it'll be $17,000. What will it be if they're in their 50s and they live to their 80s? It may cost $25,000 at that point to bury somebody. So make sure that they're aware of these things. Make sure you have little slicks like this under plastic so that you can sit down and show them these types of figures, and that they can make a proper buying decision at that point. Okay, I always considered final expense a one-call close. Keep it simple. But guys, gals, if you're going to be in the final expense market, you got to have some type of a lead program. So what I did is I put up there what I used to do when I was in the sales field selling final expense on a regular basis. And I would usually mail out about 5,000 cards each month. And my age range would be anywhere from 50 to 75, income range of about 15 to 50,000 of annual income. And if you get 20 cards back, you'll easily generate $2,000 to $5,000 in premium and commission to come up on. These are well above, you know, there's a lot of companies out there paying more than 100%. I think the street out there is 115. So if you picked up a $1,000 commission or a $1,000 premium, your commission's $1,115 on a street level contract. So that's what I'm saying. It's easy to generate $5,000 a month in new income. Now, the way I did my mailing, I would do 2 a month. I would do $2,500 at the first of the month. I would do $2,500 around the middle of the month. So I'd spend about $975 for each one of those mailings for about a $2,500 mailing. But I'll spend $975 all day long to make $5,000 in commission. So if I can help you with those things at the end of the webinar, by all means, let me know, and I'll go over those with you again. Okay, guys, that's about all I got. I'm trying to stay on a 45-minute time window here, and I'm just right at that right now. I'm going to leave this screen up so that you can get all that stuff wrote down if you need to get a hold of us. I'm going to bring Kevin and Gershon if they have anything to add. I'd be happy to hear any comments. And Gershon, if you have some questions that you want to read back, let's go ahead and get those out now.
Hey, Bill, this is Kevin. Let me chime in here for a second and
Sure.
have an add-on. It's interesting. I don't have really a lot to add to what you're saying because you've got everything covered, but it's interesting. I spoke to one of our agencies earlier today about final expense, and they had really been a Medicare supplement shop, and they started doing the telephone inquiries on the final expense, and because of the ease of the process that we provide with our express application and making decisions on the phone right away, they've gone to 30 to 50 apps a month with our program, and they're just loving what we do. So, you know, I can't stress the importance enough about some of the things you said with regard to the ease of doing business with our product, and especially getting business issued right away. So really, if you haven't tried it, give it a try. It's going to really work out hard. Just wanted to, you know, jump in on that point, Phil, just to stress the importance of the express application process.
That definitely makes sense, guys. Listen, I started selling Medicare supplement insurance back in 1984. Nothing ever made me any madder than when I would go back and call on maybe a service call with one of my clients that had bought Medicare supplement with me, and I'd start asking about whether they had final expense. Say, oh yeah, I just bought some of that about 3 months ago. I didn't know you sold it. One of the things that Equitable does that I just absolutely love, and if you guys, once you get to know Equitable as a company, you will find it works really well, is we all have what's called sales kits. If you're out doing kitchen table selling and not doing the the phone sales, you should be able to. And even if you're doing phone sales, it works both ways. You should be able to. If you're talking to a prospect and he says, "Well, Bill, I'd like to buy a Medicare supplement, but I just don't know what to do. Don't know which one I want." You can reach into your briefcase and pull out an Equitable Medicare supplement, and maybe they got a Medicare supplement with you, and you go back and you say, well, you know what, I've been thinking about buying some final expense. You can reach into your briefcase and pull out an Equitable final expense plan. Or maybe it's a person who's had a loved one in the hospital or a nursing home, and they said, you know what, I've been thinking about looking into some short-term care or maybe something for nursing home benefits. You can reach into your kit and pull out an Equitable short-term care, 790 or 792, depending on which state you're in. Or maybe if somebody's got a Medicare Advantage and you want to present them with an opportunity for a hospital indemnity plan, you can reach in your kit and pull out the Equitable Hospital Indemnity Plan or a standalone cancer plan. They have both. So what I'm getting at is all of our products are readily available for you, the agent, and most of the products you can sell over the telephone. The hospital indemnity and the cancer plan are the only two that you cannot. And the reason for that is there's no underwriting on those. They're yes/no applications. There's no need to call in and do a phone background check. But our Medicare supplement, our final expense, and our short-term care all can be sold over the telephone. And when you set into my Express App webinar and I start giving you examples of how that actually works and how it saves you money, you will find that what's the old saying, try it, you'll like it. It actually is a great, great process for our sales force, and it gives you a leg up on the competition. So with that said, Grishon, are you ready for questions?
Yes. One of the first questions I had is, are you able to use the MedSup and the MedSup and Heritage Protector at the same time using the Express app?
And the answer would be yes. Now, it's two different interviews because there's two different sets of criteria for the underwriting. There's different health questions for life than there is for MedSup. However, it's not two lengthy interviews because most of the interview, or all the interview material the underwriter will already have, like name, date of birth, and all that they can populate that real easy. So yes, you can.
Okay. The next question I have is, are we able to take the debit cards for benefit payments?
Gee, I don't think so. Kevin, you want to chime in there?
No, I know that's been up for discussion a number of times, but at this point, we don't take that.
No, I'm pretty sure that's something we're kicking around, but I don't think I know we haven't approved that yet.
Okay. The next question I have is, does electronic cigarettes qualify for non-smoker rates?
No. And the reason is there's just not enough data out there on electronic cigarettes yet, and electronic cigarettes have nicotine in them. So at this point, no, but that could change in the future, but right now the answer is no.
Okay. My next question is, monthly direct billing available?
No. Monthly bank draft and annual is the only two ways this is available.
Okay. And the next question I have is there a limit on amount of graded policies versus level written?
The graded benefit stops at $10,000. The age group is 50 to 75. The preferred plan is 50 to 85, 2,000 minimum, 30,000 maximum.
Okay. The next question I have is, are we able to do long-distance sales without visiting clients and possibly emailing them the insurance guide?
Yes. We have a lot of agents that live in Texas and sell this in Missouri, or live in Missouri and sell it in North Carolina or South Carolina. And on the life insurance buyer's guide, if they, during the interview, if the client says no, we'll just step one in there when we mail the policy out.
Okay. The next question I have, I don't know if you went over this, is what is the process of the replacement form in North Carolina?
Was it in the top states or the bottom? I don't remember. Let me look here. Let me go back here.
It was in the top. It was in the top.
If it's in the top state, then if they have existing final expense plan in North Carolina and you're not replacing it, you're just adding on to it, you still got to fill out the replacement notice. Again, that makes no sense to me, but that is a state law or state requirement in North Carolina.
Okay. And then I have another question regarding the e-cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know if the e-cigarettes don't qualify for non-smoker, why does smokeless tobacco qualify?
Because that's the way the actuaries priced it. That's the best I can do, guys. I don't have a good answer for that. I think the big reason e-cigarettes, there's just not any data out there on e-cigarettes right now. I mean, they're very new. They're getting more and more popular. But there's no long-term data as the effects of what an e-cigarette has on the body. So until that is determined, it will remain in the smoker category. Now, guys, you guys are disappointing me a little bit here. Nobody's asked about marijuana yet. And I get asked that every now and then, and it's not on the app, so what's Hill saying? If it's not on there, you don't have to disclose it. We're asking about cigarettes and tobacco. If the underwriter wants to know about marijuana, she'll ask.
Okay,
and you know what? That may become more and more important as we go down the road with more and more states legalizing marijuana. That could be something that you might see hitting applications in the near future. I don't know, but I just thought I'd add a little humor to that. So if that's it, guys, Kevin, you got anything else?
No, I'm good, Bill. Thank you. You covered it well.
Okay, guys, again, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate each and every one of you. As I always tell everybody, you're the lifeblood of our company. If we can do anything to make your life easier or can help you in any way, let us know. If it's within our ability, we will get it done. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Bye.